call this February 10th, 2020 meeting of the Raymore City Council to order. Mrs. Warner, may we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Abdelgawad?
Here.
Councilmember Barber?
Present.
Councilmember Berenson?
Present.
Councilmember Burke?
Present.
Councilmember Sturko?
Present.
Councilmember Holman?
Present.
Councilmember Jacobson?
Present.
Councilmember Townsend?
Present.
Mayor Turnbow absent.
Thank you. Can I have everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We don't have any presentations or awards or personal appearances scheduled for this evening, so we will move into staff reports. Mr. Fearborn?
Thank you, sir. I would ask Mr. Carteret to make a staff report for Development Services.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to mention two upcoming board and commission meetings. Next Tuesday, February 18th, our Board of Adjustment will meet at 6 o'clock. They have one request for a variance for property at 1207 Kettering Lane. That's up in the Edgewater at Creekmore subdivision. It's a remnant undeveloped lot, a very unique lot that the property owner has had difficulty finding a home that would fit on a lot to meet the setbacks. And they think they have come close. They need to adjust a couple of setbacks, minor adjustments. So they're going before the board, hoping to be able to build on that lot. And then at 7 o'clock on the 18th, we have our Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. They'll be considering a rezoning and a final plat for a project known as Sunset Plaza. It was formerly referred to as Conway Place. So it's 5 acres of land east of City Hall here. So it's on the east side of Sunset, north of Pine Street. They're asking to reclassify the zoning from commercial to a residential plan unit development. It would allow for the construction of 67 townhome units on the 5 acres of land. So those are the current applications we have under review. That concludes staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Carteret. Are there any questions of staff? Ms. Abdelgawad?
Quick question. So the Sunset Plaza, is there anything in that proposal that's changed from previously other than the name?
It is the same applicants, the same application. There's been a couple of minor adjustments to their overall concept plan to try to address some of the comments that they heard approximately 6 months ago when the project was initially submitted, but very, very minor modifications. They have just resolved some of the issues. And so in essence, is a new application coming forward, starting over the public hearing process.
Anyone else? Thank you, sir. We have no committee reports this evening. We have any other staff reports, sir?
Fine, sir.
Please.
Just a reminder to the council, next Monday is President's Day, so you will not be having a work session. A public service announcement. The state of Missouri does not celebrate President's Day, apparently. They celebrate Washington's birthday, and they celebrate President Lincoln's birthday. So they will be closed both this Wednesday and Monday. It gives them an extra holiday. State offices will be closed this Wednesday. We will, however, like the rest of the nation, be celebrating President's Day, so we're only closed one day.
Anything else, sir?
That concludes staff report.
Thank you. I remember the days in grade school when we got both of those days off, and that was a long time ago. We don't have any committee reports this evening, and therefore we will move into the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion at this time to address the 4 items on the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Mr. Barber.
I move that we approve the consent agenda to include item A, City Council minutes, January 27th, 2020. Item B, approval of safety traffic enforcement program. Item C, land and water conservation fund, Hawk Nest all-inclusive playground. Item D, board and commission appointments as listed, resolution 2008 through 2024.
I have a motion. Is there a second on the floor?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the item? If there is no discussion, can I have all those in favor of the motion please raise your hand? It's unanimous. Motion passes 8-0. We'll now move into the unfinished business portion of the meeting, and we'll start with item A, which is Bill 3522, the Show Me Green Sales Tax Holiday. Can we have the second reading of Bill 3522 by title only, Mrs. Warner?
The second reading of Bill 3522 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, committing the City of Raymore to participate in the Show Me Green Sales Tax Holiday in 2020.
Thank you. At this time, I would entertain a motion to dispose of Bill 3522.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Mr. Barber.
I move to approve Bill 3522, Show Me Green Sales Tax Holiday.
Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second.
There is a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, can I have all those in favor please raise your hand? Votes unanimous, in favor 8-0. Moving on to item B, which is Bill 3508, Award of Contract Traffic Study Project. May I have the second reading of Bill 3508 by title only, Ms. Warner?
The second reading of Bill 3508 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Wilson and Company for the 58 Highway North Cass Parkway traffic study, city project number 20-346-501, in the amount of $137,412, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints.
Thank you, Ms. Warner. At this time, I would entertain a motion to dispose of Bill 3508. Mr. Barber.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve Bill 3508, Award of Contract Traffic Study Project.
Is there a second for this?
I'll second.
Do you have a motion and a second to approve Bill 3508? Is there any discussion? Seeing none, can I have all those in favor of the motion please raise your hand? Votes unanimous, in favor 8-0. We'll now move on to item C, which is Bill 3523, Marketing and Design Services. Mrs. Warner, may we have the second reading of Bill 3523 by title only, please?
The second reading of Bill 3523 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Lynchpin Ideas for Design Services.
Thank you. At this time, I would entertain a motion to dispose of Bill 3523. Mr. Barber.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move that we approve Bill 3523, Award of Contract Marketing Design Services.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There is a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this matter? Seeing none, can I have all those in favor of the motion please raise your hand? Vote is unanimous, in favor 8-0. We'll now move on to the new business section of the meeting. We only have one item tonight, and that's Bill 3524, which is award of contract for animal sheltering services. May we have the initial reading of Bill 3524 by title only, Ms. Warner?
The first reading of Bill 3524 by title only, an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the City of Raymore, Missouri, to enter into a contract with the City of Peculiar for animal sheltering services.
Mr. Feuerborn, I assume we have a staff report on this item.
Yes, we do, sir. Thank you. I would ask Mr. Zur to make staff report for this item.
Thank you, Mr. Feuerborn. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, I'm happy to provide the staff report with regard to bill number 3524. What you have before you this evening is the proposed bill along with a proposed contract for animal control sheltering services, which would allow the city of Raymore to provide animal control sheltering services to the city of Peculiar. Prior to this agreement, the city of Harrisonville provided those services to the city of Peculiar. They are discontinuing that agreement as of February 29th. Peculiar has approached us through their police department in order to provide these services. The only thing that has altered from the contract that you have in front of you from our prior discussion and presentation is an alteration in the dollar figures, grand totaling of $18,000 that will be recouped by the city of Raymore from this contract. I would also note that any additional expenses included, including veterinary charges and otherwise, will be charged back to the city of Peculiar in order to make us whole. I would conclude staff report. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all might have.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions for staff? I have just one for clarification. I believe I know the answer, but just for those that have not heard this discussion before, we will not be, to use a layperson's term, chasing dogs through peculiar. We're simply taking the animals in after they're captured and providing shelter for them as a basic tenet of the contract. Isn't that correct, sir?
That is correct, sir, and that is why we have changed the title of the contract to Sheltering Services Contract.
That's what I thought. Anyone else? At this time, I would entertain a motion at this time to dispose of Bill 3524. Mr. Barber?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move that we approve Bill 3524, award a contract, Animal Sheltering Services.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There is a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this item? Ms. Abdul-Gawad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Just a quick comment. I know the police chief is here often throughout the year bragging on our animal control officers and the services we provide to the city at the shelter. Kind of, maybe I should have asked this question, but just stating from our previous conversations, this contract should not at all change the services provided to the city of Raymore. Basically, we have the capacity at our shelter most of the time to house these animals. As Mr. Mayor Pro Tem said, we won't be in peculiar chasing animals, so it won't take our animal control officers out of the city of Raymore. Those were just points brought up in our prior discussion that I wanted to mention. I'm in favor of this and proud of our animal control department and that Peculiar reached out to us to fill this need that they have.
Mr. Barber?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I'm going to jump on what Mr. Abdul-Gawad had said, that we had quite a bit of discussion with the work session, and one of the concerns was obviously with staff, and we got the assurance, and I know, because I know what kind of staff they have there, that they 100% bought in on this and had no issues with this at all, and actually were kind of encouraged to add another service and have some revenue to the shelter too. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would add two things. I think it speaks highly of the city and of the staff and the reputation of the staff of this city that we have another agency coming to us to ask us for assistance in providing some services. And this is not the only example of this. We dispatch for a number of agencies around, as well as providing aid to a number of other agencies, as well as providing our staff as instructors across the KC metro area and the state. And it just goes to show how professional our staff is and how many people are recognizing that. And the first thing that staff does with an item of this is to vet it to see how much pressure, if any, there would be on existing city services. They did an outstanding job with this and found that, you know, we can do this, we can do it easily, we can help out a neighboring city, and we can charge appropriate fees to cover our cost recovery in this. So well done. Anyone else? If there's no further discussion, can I have all those in favor of the motion please raise your hand? The vote is unanimous. Motion passes 8-0. And in just under 15 minutes, we're ready to move into the public comments section of tonight's meeting. Anyone who wishes to speak may proceed to the podium and provide your name and address for the record. Please keep your comments to 5 minutes. With as few of you that are here, I might let you have 6 or 7 if you'd like. Seeing none, we will move on to council member comments, and tonight I would like to start with Councilmember Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. On this evening, I have nothing. Thank you.
Mr. Jacobson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I do want to thank all of the volunteers that are serving on our boards and committees. We have a couple here this evening. We had some earlier, and I've always maintained that this city runs on its volunteers. So I want to thank everybody for putting in that time and making this city what it is. That's it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I know it's been a week or so, and we've all had our celebration, and it's pretty well cashed out. But I wanted to observe a couple things that I really enjoyed during the Super Bowl. Normally, I don't really like it when people at the end of the national anthem go home with the Chiefs. Part of that maybe it's Boy Scouts or stuff, but when it's in Arrowhead, I'm I'm okay with it more, but when they were doing it sporting, I didn't like it. But hearing it in Miami, that was really cool. That was super cool, hearing that on TV. The second thing I really enjoyed was seeing how much the citizens of Raymore celebrated and enjoyed. You could go out and you could hear hundreds of people yelling. I mean, individual people yelling in Raymore, and then yelling back and forth across neighborhoods to each other. It was super cool. I mean, it was awesome. And then the other thing that I wanted to observe that I think a lot of people maybe don't notice is I know there were some criticisms of the players celebrating at the parade. And if you think about it, those players have they've gone without for years. They didn't get to where they were by going out and partying on the weekends in college and every Wednesday. They were working for years to get to where they were. So I think it might have been one of the biggest celebrations for some of those individuals, probably Mahomes. And I think they certainly deserve it. It's kind of one of those things when you do win a championship, you look at the other coaches and you celebrate for a little bit, and then you're like, well, I guess we got to get back to work. And so sometimes people don't really take it in like they should. And I think Raymore did a good job with that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Circo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Yeah, I don't have much to say, but I would kind of chime in on Mr. Burke and the Chiefs. And thanks to the city. The city went out and turned this whole city hall red for a number of nights. It was beautiful. I got pictures of it. I sent them out. People were just over-elated how the city just jumped in there and made this area look so good for the Chiefs in red. It was beautiful. Thank you very much. And as a long-time season ticket holder, my wife and I, 37 years, we have been living and dying the Chiefs. And, of course, I've always been in sports, officiating for 37 years, so I've always loved football. But to be there year in and year out, waiting for this great moment after 50 years, it was kind of bittersweet. It was so great, but it happened so fast. Unlike baseball, it went by 2-3 games and it's done. It's like, what happened? It's over already. But the city was great. The fireworks were going off. We did a great job, and I really think the Chiefs really, put us on a map with that Super Bowl win. Thank their organization. I've met Mr. Hunt a number of times. They're great people, and I just wanted to chime out and thank for the city and the people who are in it. We're all there together. It helps bond us together, even sports like that. And I mean, we were all red. We were all Chiefs, and that's a great time and a great moment. So, thank the city again for the lights. I really appreciate it. Those were awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Barber?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. First of all, I want to say good job. I know that I've been in that chair. I know it's not easy, but boy, I would have done it tonight. I would tell you that. Easy night. Couple of things, and I'll be fairly quick. Again, I'm going to shout out to our citizen volunteers, and I know Mr. Jacobson made a comment, but I always like to just reiterate the same thing. We can't run the city without them. I saw some new names on there, which is neat. That wasn't just some people just re-upping. We have that, which is good, but we got some new people in there too, so that was nice to see that. And also, just an observant, I don't want anybody getting away, but if anybody gets a chance to drive around the street and take a look at TB Hanna, there's some new stuff going on. There was a crane. The little boy in me stopped and watched the crane pick the building off the tractor trailers and moved it over to the park, which was really neat to watch that come together. And it looks like we're real close to having a bathroom out at TB Hanna Station. Looks really neat, and it all matches and goes together. So again, I know we got a park board member here, but I'm excited to see that take shape. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Abdelgawad?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I'll just echo the appreciation for all of the volunteers that serve on our commissions that we appointed or reappointed this evening. And then really briefly, wanted to share an opportunity with my fellow council members and the community to support our Ray-Pec School District. Coming up on February 22nd is the Raymore Peculiar Public School Foundation Gala, a fundraiser for their projects that support the school district. It's at 5:30 that evening. Tickets are on sale online, I believe, for $50 or $60 a ticket. I'd love to see fellow council members there. I'm getting hand signals, $60 a ticket. I have my ticket purchased. My husband did it online. So love to see fellow council members there, members of the community. Come out on February 22nd and support our schools. They'll have an auction. It's a more casual theme this year, kind of a Hawaiian luau theme, so you don't have to get all dressed up, black tie, fancy dresses if you don't want. So just want to share that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Berenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. A lot of good comments up here tonight, and I think everything was covered that I was going to say. Mr. Jacobson, you started off with thanking the citizen volunteers, and a few of you joined in with that as well, too. Since we are ahead of schedule, I'm going to quickly just read off the names of the people that are volunteering here for the city. This is an important thing for us, and this is one of the things that makes us run as well as it does. We always have plenty of volunteers every year, people that are willing to give up their time and efforts to help make our city better. So quickly, I'll read them off. Appointing Jeremy Mansour to the Planning and Zoning Commission, reappointing Mike Cox to the Board of Appeals, reappointing Chad Buck to the Board of Appeals, reappointing Randy Reed to the Board of Appeals, reappointing Lloyd Brown to the Board of Appeals, reappointing Mike Eakey to the Board of Appeals, appointing Wade Beck to the Board of Appeals, appointing Pam Hatcher to the Board of Adjustment, appointing Jerry Martin to the Board of Adjustment, appointing Aaron Harrison to the Board of Adjustment, appointing Terry Woods to the Board of Adjustment, appointing Susan Dooley to the Board of Adjustment, appointing Beth Brown to the Arts Commission, reappointing Don Schmidt to the Tax Increment Finance Commission, as well as reappointing Stephanie Como, and appointing Joseph Wells to the same, and also appointing Bill Welty to the Tax Increment Finance Commission. So those of you whose names I read, a sincere thank you from all of us up here, and we appreciate your efforts and the time you give to our city. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, sir. I would concur with all the comments that have been made up here this evening from all of my colleagues. I do need to make a clarification and issue an apology to Councilmember Burke. From last week's comments, I mentioned that he wouldn't be running again because he was going to pursue a professional singing career, and I actually had someone ask me if that was true or not. So, no, Mr. Burke, I don't believe is planning to pursue a professional singing career. We were just giving him a hard time about his singing performance at the ERC dinner, so thank you, sir. Second thing I wanted to say is I wanted to tack on to what Ms. Abdelgawad said about the Raymore Peculiar Foundation. It is no secret here that we have a symbiotic relationship in this city with our school district. What happens and benefits them benefits us, and vice versa. So they are a very, very important part of our community to everyone that is here, and so all the support we can throw their way, I think, the better for that. Also, I want to tack on to something that Councilmember Barber said, was talking about the new building, which is going to house restrooms and maybe concession stands. I'm not sure. It's a kind of a multi-purpose building that just went into TB Station. Things are going on a weekly basis, if not a daily basis, here in this city. We get better every day due to these people up in front of us and the other 97 or 8 employees that work for the city and have been doing this for a long time. So we have that new facility there at TB Hanna Station that just got placed. We're going to be putting in a spray ground, and we're going to be putting in a playground and a brand new playground at Recreation Park. And we're striving for that all-inclusive playground up at Hawk Ridge, and I know Nathan's been working hard on that and applied for a grant recently. But I can tell you the goal of everyone up here, and I may step out of bounds a little bit by saying this, but I think I speak for everyone in that we all came up here because we wanted to make people's lives better on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and I guarantee you the 100-plus professionals that work for this city on a daily basis, that is their entire goal day after day, and I am thankful for them. Mr. Fearborn, would you once again please convey my respect and appreciation for the exceptional job that staff does for us.
Thank you, sir.
And that is all that I have this evening. We do not have a reason to move into executive session. Is that correct, sir?
We do not.
Therefore, I would entertain a motion at this time to adjourn tonight's session. Mr. Barber.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move that we adjourn.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Votes unanimous.